brother. Oh, brother is right.
Hi, I thought it would be fun for us to explore together how we experienced this great shift in America where we used to have women dressing like this to now women dressing like this. Seriously, how did we get here? I've always been fascinated by this, so I wanted to know for myself for this video. How did we get here? When did it happen? What was that big shift that happened in America that caused this? Let's dive in. America, founded in 1776, with a population that was estimated to be about 2.5 million people. During this time in the 1700s, women did not own more than about 2 to 4 outfits. The styles of the times were elbows and knees to be covered at all times. The 1700s marked an era of extremely tight and possibly suffocating corset dresses that were meant to exhibit sexuality while maintaining the woman's modesty perfectly. They felt that this was just enough to attract a man, to get a man's attention. Honestly, I would love to hear from the men in the comment section if this is an outfit that you would be attracted by. I wonder what the Eleanors of the 1700s would think of our skirts and dresses today. They would probably think that we were a part of a nearby brothel. The 1800s was very similar, as modesty was still very much valued, and it was a big part of fashion. It was inappropriate for a woman to even show her ankles. Skirts were all long, and cleavage wasn't even an idea. To men, modesty was a major sign of beauty, a sign that a woman cared for her body and was humble. Also, a majority of America in the 1800s was Christian and believed in the Bible. In the mid to late 1800s, dresses allowed for more movement for a woman to travel long miles to the west and work in fields. The comfort of the clothing also made it easier for women to do house chores. Although many lived on farms and were surrounded by dirt, women didn't hesitate to look good. Each dress was sewn with beautiful patterns. That way, a woman could be looked at as a hardworking, beautiful woman. I'm sorry, that is awesome. Moving on to the 1920s. As the 1920s began, the income of the wealthy increased, and young women started to rebel against their mother's way of dressing. World War I caused women to rebel primarily because it forced them into taking on traditionally male roles due to men being at war. This led to a significant shift in societal expectations and fueled the push for greater women's rights. After World War I, women felt stronger, and the new young generation rebelled against old tradition. Skirts got shorter and more skin was shown. Hair was cut short, makeup was worn more, and women went to dances and parties. The women dated more, and many found it hard to return to their old ways. They were given the name flappers. The roaring 20s fashion had begun and shaped the way how women dressed in the future. This shift away from modesty turned out to be truly an effect from World War I. I thought this was so interesting to find out because I had no idea that this is where we had one of our first shifts away from modesty. It was because of World War I. In the 1930s, women's styles started getting much simpler and makeup more common, as well as many women dressed classy. Then came World War II. Many women weren't able to focus on fashion due to the fact that women also began to volunteer in the armed forces alongside the men in World War II. Also, women were more focused on taking the men's jobs in factories as they fought in the war. The 1950s showed us how influential those that are in the limelight can be on fashion choices. Celebrities also set the stage for women's fashion. Many models and actresses were seen as the very definition of beauty and were followed after. Then came the sexual revolution in the 1960s, which we have talked about so much on this channel. Truthfully, after studying this revolution so much, this is where America changed forever, when it would never be the same. Being that the birth control pill was introduced, it allowed women to control their fertility, making it that they can have as many sexual partners as they wanted with a lower risk of pregnancy, which I believe is a very large reason why marriage rates have been in a long decline ever since. In the 1970s, crop tops became a symbol of the feminist movement and were worn as a statement of liberation and empowerment. I had no idea that this was the story behind the crop top. This movement led the 1980s to be all about power. Responding to the times, designers like Yves Saint Laurent crafted suits and skirt suits that wore like armor. Shoulders were exaggerated and padded, double-breasted silhouettes, which made a figure loom larger than it was. Bold colors differentiated the look from traditional men's suits. So it looks like this was the first time where men's fashion entered into women's fashion. The 1990s clothing became even less. 2000s, even less. And fast forward to 2012, I guess this still wasn't enough nakedness for everybody because there was a movement.
Control the flow of nudity and violence into our theaters. Our sexuality has been taken away from us and is essentially being sold back to us.
You honestly believe that we can change the laws in this country?
You need to go really big. National publicity stunts, viral campaigns.
This movement challenged the double standard that allows men to go shirtless while often penalizing women for showing their... Thankfully, that failed, and we don't have women walking around with their shirts off. But even though things didn't go in that direction, we ended up going a different route. The Kardashians have played, I'd argue, the most vital role in leading women's fashion, wearing outfits that most women probably would have never even dared to wear until they watched this show. Also being the many female rap artists like Cardi B and Ice Spice, who are now leading this next generation somewhere, I don't know where. We're gonna find out, only time will tell. I wasn't gonna make this video because I personally wanted to research this for myself. I wanted to know when this drastic shift happened. But I think it's so important to bring awareness to this, to step back, look at the whole picture, and assess the situation. Are we all benefiting from living in an overly sexualized society? The sexual revolution of the 1960s significantly transformed American society that brought about a new era of freedom and self-expression in how women dress. However, beneath this facade of liberation, we find consequences that many might overlook. While individuals celebrated newfound sexual autonomy, the breakdown of traditional family structures were dramatically affected. It led to an increase in single-parent households and a shift in societal values. Many people have found themselves feeling lonely and hopeless in a society that doesn't value sex, and as a result, doesn't value modesty. I've personally made it my mission this year to pursue modesty, and I have experienced true, hidden, and forgotten power that modesty brings. In a world today that looks down on a woman who considers her body to be sacred, I've found the empowerment is not found in wearing less, but wearing more. I believe with all my heart that if women started to value their bodies again in America, we would see the biggest shift in marriage, joy, and self-worth, more than our country has seen in a very long time. It's almost like our country was doing so much better when we acknowledged God. Could it be the movement that was created by women to bring fulfillment and liberation and power did the complete opposite? Could it be that the women society looks down on, who value family, life being brought into this world, and clothing, are the ones who are truly living the fulfilled, liberating, and empowering life? And could it be that the Proverbs 31 woman is the definition of what a woman really is? The woman who is gentle, the woman who is sexually pure, a helper to her husband, who laughs at the days to come because she knows God is in control of it all, the woman who is clothed in dignity. Modesty has truly changed my life in so many different ways, and we'll talk about that in our next video. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you think more people need to hear this message, go ahead and hit that thumbs up below, and I'll see you guys in the comments.